Vegeta has always been ruthless, especially in the early days of Dragon Ball Z. His techniques are unique to him, and they have always been techniques that are primarily focused on tremendously high amounts of bodily injury or taking you out permanently. And so today on this edition of the Technique Guide, we're going to begin a series examining Vegeta's techniques. So with this and the next several videos in the Technique Guide, if you're a Vegeta fan, you're going to be happy because we're going to go into all of his badass moves. And on this edition today, we begin with the Galick Gun. Let's get it. Before we begin, I want to make a note that this is part of a series examining Vegeta's techniques, and that's part of a greater series called the Technique Guide. But in order to really understand Vegeta's moves, you need to watch the Kamehameha explained video first, because so many of Vegeta's moves are based on the Kamehameha or are similar to it. So it's best to get a fundamental understanding of how the Kamehameha works before we talk about Vegeta's techniques. So up in the card right there, you should see a link to go watch that, and I'll leave one at the end of the video as well, but it's crucial for you to watch that one first just to get a better understanding. The Galick Gun is a very powerful energy wave, very similar to the Kamehameha, and is one of Vegeta's signature moves, although later in the series we find out that Trunks knows how to do it as well, but that was much later. In Japan, the Galick Gun is referred to as the Galick Hole. And one thing we have to establish right now that I find very interesting, and I'm not sure if you guys noticed this, but when you watch Dragon Ball or read the manga, Toriyama chose to name Vegeta's techniques in English. Moves like the Taio-Ken, the solar flare, or the Kienzan, which is the Destructo disc in the dub, these are Japanese titles. Kienzan, Taio-Ken, Kaio-Ken. Kamehameha is not really a Japanese title, but you know. With Vegeta, though, he names his moves in English, and when he says them in the Japanese version, when Ryo Horikawa does it, and in the manga, it's also in English. Final Flash, Big Bang Attack, Vegeta says these things. Big Bang Attack! Final Flash! The first time we see the Galick Gun was during Vegeta's epic fight with Goku, which I did a breakdown of on this channel, because I absolutely love that fight. Totally love that fight. It's one of my top 3 favorite fights in Dragon Ball. Leave a comment down below and let me know how you feel about that fight. So anyways, during that fight, Vegeta gets increasingly frustrated at Goku's incredible power and his use of the Kaioken, and busts out the Galick Gun, his signature technique at the time. One of the things I've always wondered is, where did Vegeta get this technique from? Did he come up with it himself, or did somebody teach it to him? With Goku, we actually see him learning the Kamehameha after seeing it once, and learning how to do the Genki Dama, and of course the Kaioken, and everything else he learns. And even if we don't see it on screen, we know that it's something that he learns from someone. But what about Vegeta? It seems like when it comes to Vegeta, based on all the evidence we have in the subtext in the manga and in the anime, Vegeta, stated by Beerus, is a fighting genius. So I figure that Vegeta, after having several battles with Nappa, at some point developed the technique as a finishing move against the more difficult opponents. Although the hand positions are slightly different, it is very similar to the Kamehameha. In fact, in Xenoverse 2, there's actually a scene where Goku and Vegeta discuss how similar the move is. But it seems like Vegeta never actually killed somebody with this move on screen. We saw him use the move against Goku and he lost that beam struggle. We saw him use the move in Dragon Ball Super a few times, including even before that in Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods. He used it against Beerus, and that, as you know, did nothing. We saw it in GT as well, and my favorite variation of it is when Grade 8 Baby did the Galick Gun. Interestingly enough, though, as I stated, Vegeta never actually finished somebody off with this move, even though it's meant to be a killing move. Vegeta, doing what Goku did with the Kamehameha, ignites the particles around his wrist using his energy manipulation, and eventually inflames them and fires them at his opponent at a rapid speed. One thing that I found cool was in Dragon Ball Super Broly when Goku and Vegeta together did the Kamehameha Galick Gun combination, which some have called the Galick Kamehameha, but Broly just ate through it like nothing. Interestingly enough, now that Vegeta has this God of Destruction power, and I'm not saying this was foreshadowed, but it is an interesting coincidence, the Galick Gun is usually purple. The Kamehameha can be like a whitish kind of light blue, but the Galick Gun is almost always purple, and I'm guessing the idea behind that was Toei Animation trying to differentiate the Galick Gun from the Kamehameha to give it a different look. Now, you're probably wondering, why did Toriyama choose the word Galick? Like, is this something from, like, some kind of machine gun? No, it's a pun, because Vegeta, his pun is vegetables, the Saiyans are vegetables, the Saiyajin, a pun on Yasai, and it's derived from the word garlic. So it's almost like Vegeta saying Galick Gun. In the Japanese version, he says Gariko, because that is the pun. So just imagine Vegeta throwing garlic at people. That would be awesome. Please also disregard the 4Kids version of Dragon Ball Kai, the censored one where they call it the Galick Blast. It's just they can't use the word gun because it was heavily censored, so they had to use blast. Kind of dumb, to be honest, but 4Kids is really, really, really picky about these things. Perhaps someday we will actually see this technique finish somebody off, but until then there isn't much to say about the Galick Gun, but we've got a lot more Vegeta techniques to get through, and some of these get really, really interesting. So I will catch you in the next one. Have a nice day.